Here's a picture of me 3 years ago when I had PVC pipes for arms, and here is a picture of me right now. I went from having super skinny arms that I was embarrassed to wear any type of clothes that exposed them, to now having a very respectable physique, and my arms look good even when I'm not pumped. And in today's video, I'm going to give you the exact workouts that I use to grow my arms as fast as possible so that you can start getting steroid accusations as well.
I mean, you look natural, so it's like...
So first, it's important to understand how many times per week I train my arms. I'm currently training every single day, 7 days per week, and my split goes like chest on one day, back the next day, legs after that, shoulders on day 4, and then arms on the final day of the split before I repeat that cycle with no days off, like I said before. And the reason I do it like that is because I don't like constraining myself to having a specific day of the week dedicated to a certain muscle group. Because life gets in the way sometimes, and if you don't train at home like I do, you might not be able to go to the gym on a specific day of the week, which can throw off your split. So I just continuously repeat that 5-day cycle because it allows me to fully recover each muscle group before training it again without having to take days off. Because personally, I love training. So I found a way that allows me to do it every single day while still making progress and not having to worry about overtraining. So now that you know my exact routine, now let's get into the fun part, which is the exercises. And this guide is going to be split up into 3 different parts: the biceps, the triceps, and the one that most people forget about, your forearms. So starting off with my favorite muscle to train, your biceps. Because let's be honest, who doesn't love a good bicep pump? But it's important to understand that the biceps are made up of 2 different heads, the short head and the long head. And of course, whatever exercise you do for the biceps, both heads are going to be stimulated. But what I've noticed over the last 9 years of training is that combining different exercises that specifically target each head is the key to the best possible results. Because if you look at a standing dumbbell curl, for example, you see that it's the most challenging in the middle range of the movement. But it's been proven over the years that in order to get the best results, it's better to pick an exercise that targets the biceps in the stretched position at the bottom of the movement, which is why my go-to exercise for the short head of the biceps is the preacher curl. You can do this exercise with either a dumbbell, a bar, or a cable machine, but regardless, you're going to want to have a pad that supports your entire tricep, and then curl up and pause at the top for a second, and then slowly lower it down to feel the stretch. And I like to pause at the bottom as well to really feel the stretch at the bottom of the movement. I like to aim anywhere between 6 to 12 reps per set, and of course, I go to failure on every single set. So now moving on to the long head, what I see most people do to target the long head of the bicep is doing incline dumbbell curls, which isn't a bad exercise, don't get me wrong. But the same as before, the movement is going to be the hardest in the middle range of the motion. So for the best possible results, I like to do this exercise standing on a cable machine to make it even harder in the stretched position. So what I like to do is I like to set the cable at the lowest possible setting, stand a few steps away so that you can have your elbow slightly behind your body to fully stretch the long head of the bicep. And then all you have to do from here is just curl the weight up, keeping your elbow locked in place, squeeze at the top, and then slowly control the weight down. And same as before, I like to stay in the 6 to 12 rep range for this exercise. And of course, every set is taken to failure. But yeah, that's pretty much all I do for my biceps. It's not super complicated like a lot of these guys make it out to be, but at least for me, the results speak for themselves. So now moving on to the triceps, and I'm going to be honest, I don't really like training the triceps because I've dealt with elbow tendonitis for the past few years. But nevertheless, they make up 2/3 of your arm, which means I can't really neglect them if I want bigger arms. So this is how I train them. So the tricep has 3 heads: the long head, the lateral head, and the medial head. And just like with the bicep, no matter what exercise you do, all the heads are going to be working. But these are the 3 exercises that have helped me the most because each one targets one of the heads specifically. So starting off with the long head, this is the part of the tricep that hangs down under your arm when you do a front double bicep. And in order to target this head, we need an exercise that fully stretches the tricep, which means you need your arms over your head. And my go-to exercise for this is the overhead cable extension. All you're going to do is set the cable at ideally waist height. In my home gym, I unfortunately only have a cable at my feet and above my head, so I just have to make it work. But use whatever attachment feels best to you. Spin yourself around, take a step forward to put a bit of tension on the triceps, and extend your arms over your head while keeping your elbows as locked in as possible. Pause at the top for a second before slowly controlling the weight down as deep as you possibly can go. But the second exercise is my personal favorite for the triceps, which is the dip. And like I said, it's going to target all the heads of the tricep, but the dip primarily works the long head. And the reason that I have 2 exercises for just the long head specifically is because, in my opinion, it's the head of the tricep that matters the most for aesthetics, which is what I'm going for. But for the dip, all you're going to do is you're going to have a set of parallel bars that are slightly wider than shoulder width, jump to the top of the movement, and then slowly lower yourself down as deep as you can go without experiencing any pain, and then press yourself back up. And the biggest thing to remember when doing these is to keep your torso as upright as possible through the entire movement. Because the more that you lean forward, the more that you're going to take the load off of your triceps and put it more onto your front delts as well as your chest. And if you don't have the strength to do full range of motion dips yet, just continuously practice jumping to the top of the movement and slowly lowering yourself down to work on the eccentric part of the exercise. And by the time you can do 10 negative reps at a 3-second pace, you should have the strength to start doing full reps and even begin to add weight in the future. And as always, I like to stay in the 6 to 12 rep range for this exercise and go into failure on every single set. But moving on to the final exercise for the triceps, which is the classic tricep pushdown. Now, I'm not going to tell you that you have to use the rope or you have to use a straight bar or you have to use a specific attachment. Whichever one feels best for you and gives you the best stimulation, that's the one that I'm going to recommend you to use. Because no matter which attachment you use, you're still going to be targeting the lateral and the medial head of the tricep, which is going to give you that horseshoe look that everyone loves.
When you do that and there's like muscles there, nobody cares about that.
But even though this exercise is a staple in almost every single person's workout, I still see a lot of people doing it wrong. So here's how I do it personally. I like to have the cable at the highest possible setting, take a small step back so I can lean my torso forward and have the bar directly under my chin. And then when I'm locked in position, keeping my elbows tucked, I extend my arms down to my side, pause for a second at the bottom before slowly controlling the weight back up. And it probably goes without saying at this point, but I like to do 6 to 12 reps for this exercise as well. And you guessed it, going to failure on every single set. Now, last but not least, for the forearms, which a lot of people overlook when training their arms, but I promise you it is essential for aesthetics. So for the forearms, I like to do 3 different exercises that target the 3 different parts of the forearm, which are the flexors, the extensors, and the brachialis. For the flexors and extensors, they're pretty simple. All you're going to do is wrist curls and reverse wrist curls. You can do them with either a barbell, dumbbell, or cable, but my personal favorite is with dumbbells. So the way to set it up is to get a bench and rest your forearm on the bench with your wrist leaning off the edge. And for the flexors, you're going to have your palms facing up. And for the extensors, your palms will be facing down. Then all you're going to do is curl the weight up, pause at the second at the top of the rep before slowly lowering it down. Now I'm going to throw you a bit of a curveball here, but I like to actually do a bit higher reps for these because your forearms are worked with a lot of different exercises and the weight that you're going to be using is a bit lighter than all the other exercises. So I like to do 15 to 20 reps, all the sets to failure, of course. Now, the last exercise is the hammer curl for your brachialis, which is the muscle in between your bicep and your tricep. And it's going to give your arms that fuller and wider look. And I just started doing these recently and I've been absolutely loving it because you can go pretty heavy on these. And the pump that you get when you do this exercise last at the end of your workout is absolutely insane. So all you have to do is grab a pair of dumbbells and hold them at your sides with your palms facing each other, and then curl each dumbbell up while keeping your elbows close to your body and really focus on the squeeze at the top of each rep. But that's literally everything I've done and still do to this day to grow my arms as fast as possible, especially since summer is right around the corner and we're all going to want to look good and have massive arms with our shirt off at the pool or at the beach for the girls. And if you're interested in getting one-on-one help from me personally and having a personalized training and nutrition plan built for you, the second link in the description is where you can sign up for a call with me and we'll run through all the problems that you're currently facing with your training, your nutrition, or your mindset. And after the call, we'll continue to stay in touch for as long as it takes until you get your desired result. But I hope you got some value from this, bro. Remember, success is not the best revenge. It's the only revenge. And I'll see you in the next one.